You didn't know what you were protecting yourself from. You just knew something felt off. Silence around you had a smell to it, like something was rotting underneath. People smiled, conversations flowed, but your gut kept whispering, "Get out." And without proof, without warning, without a headline moment, you did. You pulled away. You cut the cord. You chose discomfort over destruction. And now, a week later, you're watching something unravel that was never meant to take you with it. The chaos is still unfolding, but you're not in it. You're standing on the edge. It's watching the fallout of the thing that could have swallowed you whole. And you don't need applause. You just need to understand this. That moment of resistance you showed. It was your survival instinct screaming for your future. Watch this till the end. Something in here will wake you up. If it does, hit like, subscribe, and stay with me. It wasn't supposed to go that way. You thought you were stronger this time. You thought you were prepared, wiser, more guarded, more in control. But it still hit you hard, fast, unfair. 1 minute you were holding things together, balancing, surviving, the next. It collapsed, not slowly, not gently. It crumbled like it had been waiting for the perfect second to strike, right when. Your hands were full, and your heart was tired, and you looked around for someone to blame. Something to hold on to, some kind of explanation, but all you saw were pieces. Sharp, cold pieces of a life you swore would never fall apart again. And in that moment, that one you never asked for, you realized this isn't a breakdown. It's a breaking, the quiet kind. The kind where no one hears the sound but you. The kind that splits you down the middle and makes you wonder if anything you've built inside is even real. You try to breathe, but everything feels heavier now. Even time moves differently when you're shattered. Minutes feel like hours. Sleep escapes you. Food tastes like nothing. And people just keep moving like your world didn't just explode in slow motion. They tell you you'll be fine. They tell you it's part of life. But you know, deep down, this wasn't just life. This was something else. A betrayal, a loss, a hit to your soul in a place you didn't even know was exposed. And here you are, not rebuilding, not recovering, not yet. Right now, you're just surviving the ache, waking up with it, going to sleep with it, pretending you're okay while something inside you whispers you're not. But listen, that whisper isn't weakness. It's not defeat. It's truth. And the truth is, you were broken. It's by something you didn't see coming. Something that wasn't supposed to hurt this much. But it did. Now comes the moment no one prepares you for, the after. After the damage. After the silence. After the part of you that hoped went quiet. This is where most people stay stuck. Right here, between what hurt and what could heal. Because this in-between space, it's brutal, it's slow, it's lonely. And there are no signs telling you how to move forward. But I want you to hear this. If you're still breathing inside that wreckage, you haven't lost everything. If you still care, even a little, you're not done yet. And if you can sit in the middle of your pain and still say, I don't know how, but I'll get through this, then you've already taken the first step. You didn't choose this breaking, but you get to choose what comes next. Not today, not all at once, but piece by piece, breath by breath, you will begin again. Not as the person you were, but as someone the pain couldn't kill. Someone who faced the moment that wasn't supposed to break them, and still found a way to rise. You keep asking when it will stop hurting. You look at the calendar like pain has an expiration date. You count the days, you replay the moments. You wait for the sting to fade, the thoughts too quiet, the memory to loosen its grip. But it never happens as fast as you want it to. And every time you think you're healing, something pulls you back under, so you try to escape it. You distract yourself. You stay busy. You numb it with noise, with people, with pretending you're okay when you're not. Keep telling yourself, I just need to get through this. Like pain is some side road, like it's a detour from the real story. But here's what no one told you. This is the road, the pain you're running from. ... It is the process. It's not blocking your path. It is the path. It's not a punishment. It's not proof that something's gone wrong. It's the very thing that cracks you open so you can build something real. You weren't meant to come out of this untouched. You were meant to come out changed. What broke you? It wasn't the ending. That was the trigger. The opening scene of a version of you that doesn't rely on illusion anymore. Pain strips away the noise. It shows you who was real and who wasn't. It shows you what mattered and what never did. It forces you to stop lying to yourself about your worth, about your needs, about how much you were actually carrying behind that quiet smile. You've been holding on to some version of life that was never meant to hold you. And now, gone. And it hurts like hell. But what's growing in that empty space? It's truth. And truth doesn't come dressed as comfort. It comes as ache, as silence, as lonely nights where the only voice you hear is the one inside you asking, what? Now that's not weakness. That's the beginning of rebuilding. Because the pain didn't ruin you. It revealed you. It brought you face to face with parts of yourself you kept buried. The parts that needed healing, not hiding. You're not broken because you feel this deeply. You're becoming something solid because you finally stopped avoiding what was. Already bleeding, you were never meant to avoid this part. You were meant to go through it, to crawl through the fire of your own story, not to run from it. So stop waiting for it to pass. Walk with it. Let it hurt. Let it teach you, because a version of you that comes out on the other side. They won't just be healed, they'll be unshakable, because they didn't skip the pain, they survived it. And they learned to build in the middle of it, not after it. And that's how real strength is born. Let me know when you're ready for lesson 3, or if you'd like a version tailored for voiceover timing and pacing. You feel it in your chest before you even name it. That strange, restless ache that shows up when everything feels like it's falling apart but nothing's really happening. You're not where you used to be, but you're nowhere clear either. Just floating. Your routines don't feel the same. Your dreams aren't loud anymore. You wake up feeling behind, but can't even explain what you're behind on. It's like life stopped making sense, and no one around you even noticed. So naturally, you start assuming the worst. I must have messed something up. I must be off track. Everyone else seems to know where they're going. But what if this isn't failure? What if this is the pause before the rise? What if you're not lost? You're just finally quiet enough to hear yourself. Because that noise you've been running from, it's not the world, it's you. And it's been waiting for this silence to speak. You spent so long performing for expectations, for people, for the version of life you thought you should be living. But all of that is falling away now. And yeah, it's disorienting, but it's also necessary. This is the middle space, the in-between, the unglamorous, lonely, raw part of becoming, where the old version of you starts dissolving and the new one hasn't fully shown up yet. It feels like you're nowhere. But you're actually in the exact place where transformation begins. Growth doesn't always come with a plan. Sometimes it looks like waking up confused. Sometimes it looks like losing interest in everything that once made you feel alive. Sometimes it's being surrounded by people and still feeling like no one sees you anymore. It's not because you're broken. It's because you're shifting. You're shedding. You're being stripped of all the things that were never really yours. And yeah, that's messy. That's terrifying. But it's also real. This is the space where you stop chasing what looks good and start listening for what feels true. And you don't need to rush this. You don't need to fix it. You just need to survive it. Because the person you're becoming, they don't come from clarity. They rise from the wreckage, from the wandering, from the not dash knowing. So stop asking for the map. You're not lost. You're in the process. And that process, as brutal and confusing as it feels, is building someone who no longer needs to pretend they have it all figured out. You're not late. You're not off track. You're becoming, and it's more powerful than being found. There comes a moment when you realize you're wasting your breath. Not because what you feel isn't valid, not because your story isn't worth being heard, but because you're speaking into spaces that were never meant to understand you. Tried. God knows how much you've tried. Explaining yourself, justifying your reactions, making your pain digestible for people who never once cared to taste it, and every time, it drains you. You walk away feeling smaller, like you've given, another piece of yourself, to someone who didn't even look you in the eyes while you spoke. And slowly it begins to sink in. Silence isn't surrender, strategy. There's a power and restraint that most people never learn because they're too busy reacting, proving, defending, as if their worth depends on how loud they can scream, how fast they can reply. But you've seen the cost of that. You've seen how noise only feeds the fire. You've seen how the more you try to be understood, the more misunderstood you become. And at some point you stop trying, not because you gave up, but because you woke up. You realize that silence doesn't mean weakness, it means control. It means you're no longer handing your energy to people who only want to drain it. It means you're done fighting battles that only exist to distract you from your growth. Let them talk. Let them assume. Let them create stories in their heads about who you are and what you did. Their version of you has nothing to do with the truth you live. You're not in this life to constantly explain yourself. You're here to build something that speaks for itself. Building requires energy. It requires focus. It requires peace, the kind of peace that doesn't beg to be understood, that doesn't fight for attention or applause. That just is. Because real strength that moves in silence. It grows in silence. It heals in silence. Some of your biggest breakthroughs won't come from confrontation. They'll come in the quiet moments. When you finally stop replaying what they said, when you stop reacting to the noise around you, and you sit with yourself raw, honest, tired, but clear. Clear on what you need. Clear on who you are. Clear on what you're building next. You don't owe anyone a front row seat to your transformation. They'll see the results when it's done. But right now, you're in the middle of something sacred. And not everything sacred needs to be shared. Some battles are won quietly. Some storms are survived in silence. Some seasons are just for you. So the next time someone pushes you to explain, to prove, to react, pause, breathe, and remember, silence is not you losing your voice. It's you taking back your power. And when you do finally speak again, they'll hear it differently. Because this time, you won't be speaking to be heard. You'll be speaking because you chose to, not because you needed to. You waited. Not for days or weeks, but for months, maybe even years. Waited for someone to come back and make it right. To say something. Anything. To finally see what they did to you. And say the words you kept repeating in your own mind. I'm sorry. But they didn't, and maybe they never will. And that silence, it's louder than any scream. It eats at you not just because of what they did, but because of how easily they walked away after doing it. They moved on while you sat there, holding the wreckage, trying to figure out what the hell just happened, trying to give meaning to a pain they never even acknowledged. You replayed the moments. You questioned yourself. Maybe you were too much. Maybe you weren't enough. Maybe you deserved it, but here's the truth. They hurt you. They knew what they were doing. And they did it anyway. Now you're stuck in a prison made of memories, with a door you keep trying to unlock with their apology. You think healing needs their permission. You think closure will come when they finally show up and give you that final conversation, that validation, that accountability. But what if they never show up? What if the people who hurt you the most are the ones least capable of giving you closure? What if they left not because you weren't worthy of love, but because they were never capable of offering it? Closure isn't something someone gives you, it's something you decide. And I know that's hard, because your heart still wants answers. Your soul still wants peace. But chasing closure from the person who broke you is like asking the fire to rebuild what it burned. Some people don't deserve the last word. Some people don't deserve to see how deeply they broke you, because they wouldn't understand it. They'd just use it, twist it, or worse, feel nothing. You owe no one an exit interview from your life. You don't have to explain why you went no contact. You don't have to meet up for one last conversation. You don't have to bleed one more time just to make them understand how deep the wound went. Sometimes healing begins when you stop waiting. You stop hoping that the people who destroyed parts of you are suddenly going to become the people who help fix it. You don't need their words. You need your own. And I get it, walking away without closure feels like trying to read the last page of a book that was ripped out. But that missing page, you write it yourself, not with revenge, not with bitterness, but with quiet strength. You wake up one day and realize they no longer get to live in your mind rent-free. They no longer get to decide how your story ends. You survived at your closure. You kept breathing after they left you gasping. You kept building after they left you broken. Kept loving, even when they taught you fear. Forgiveness isn't always holy, and not everyone deserves a seat at the table of your healing. Some people belong in your past, uninvited, unspoken, unfinished, because you are not a chapter they get to reread. You are a story they no longer have access to. And that, enough. There's a part of you that's terrified right now. I don't blame you, because somewhere deep inside, you know something's changing. You're not who you were, but you're not yet who you're supposed to be. Sure. Standing in between two worlds, one feels safe, but empty. The other feels terrifying, but alive. And here's the truth nobody tells you. The version of you that got you this far, the one that survived the chaos, the heartbreak, the abandonment, that version can't go with you where you're going. You have to let them die. Not out of shame, not because they were weak, because they were only built to get you through the storm, not to build your future in the sun, you see. The old you was born from fear, from survival, from having to shrink to stay loved, stay safe, stay accepted. They said, be quiet, and you listened. They said, don't ask for more, and you obeyed. They said you're too much, so you became less. You learned to adapt, to bend, to disappear. But that's not living, that's enduring. And now, it's catching up to you. Feel it. Don't you? That pressure in your chest, that restless energy, that quiet anger, that aching voice inside that whispers, there's more to you than this. But to step into who you really are, you can't carry that silence anymore. You can't carry their expectations anymore. You can't carry the pain like it's part of your identity. Because the truth is, every next level of your life will demand a new version of you. Not a better version, a realer one. Stripped of the lies, stripped of the masks, stripped of the I'm fine when you're breaking inside. You've got to bury the version of you that was built just to be tolerated. And yes, that will hurt. Because grief isn't only for people, it's for identities too. It's for dreams that no longer fit. It's for beliefs that used to protect you, but now only limit you. For the roles you played just to be accepted, let them die. Let the quiet kid, who swallowed their voice, die. Let the people pleaser who never said no, die. Let the one who thought love had to be earned, die. Let the one who only knew how to fight, die. Because the you that's waiting to be born doesn't beg anymore. They don't chase love. They don't apologize for taking up space. They've been waiting not for the right time, not for permission, but for you. To be brave enough to say, I'm done being who the world needed me to be. I'm ready to become who I was meant to be. And when that moment comes, it won't be loud. It won't be dramatic. It'll be quiet, still, like a funeral, because something old will have just died inside you. And something unbreakable will be born in its place. Not perfect, not fearless, but real, rooted, unapologetic. So don't fear the death of your old self. Mourn them, honor them, then bury them, because the life you've been aching for, it's waiting. And it begins the moment you stop trying to resurrect who you used to be. You don't just wake up one day and feel disconnected from the world. It creeps in, slowly. People stop checking in, the noise dies down. And before you even realize it, you're sitting in silence, surrounded by echoes that used to be voices. At first it's terrifying, because we're wired to cling, to noise, to chaos, to people who don't understand us, just because we're afraid to be by ourselves. But then the panic quiets, and in that terrifying stillness, something strange happens. You start to hear your own voice again. You'll realize how much of yourself was shaped by what others expected from you. How much of your worth was built on being seen, heard, validated. And once that's gone, really gone, you face the version of yourself that's been buried under noise for years. That's where the real work begins. Not when everyone's clapping, not when they believe in you, but when it's just you. No cheering, no witnesses, No validation, just you staring at the mirror, wondering who the hell am I without all of them? And that's the right question. Because isolation isn't punishment, it's rebirth. You don't rebuild yourself in crowded rooms. You don't learn discipline and applause. You don't discover your worth in someone else's hands. You find all that in the dark. In the silence. When your bones ache from carrying your own weight and no one even knows you're bleeding, they'll say you've changed. You'll say you've finally met yourself, because that old version of you, the one who needed people to feel whole, that version died the moment you sat alone and didn't run from it. You sat in your own company and didn't flinch. You faced your demons without distraction. You stripped off the masks you wore for acceptance, and what you found underneath was quiet, powerful. You became dangerous the moment you stopped fearing silence. You became untouchable when you stopped begging to be understood, because when you finally belong to yourself, no one can take that from you. Let them misunderstand you. Let them call you distant, cold, selfish. You're not here to be palatable. You're here to become precise, unshakable, rooted. And that doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens in exile. When you're locked in with yourself and forced to rebuild from scratch. So if you're in the shadows right now, good. Stay there. Let it hurt. Let it empty you. Let it break you so clean that there's nothing left but the core. Because what rises from that version of isolation isn't fragile, isn't dependent, isn't waiting for permission. It's pure, it's focused, and it's finally yours. Sometimes your life doesn't change slowly, it changes sharply, like the snap of a bone that's been bending too long. You think transformation is gradual, but it's not. The moment that defines you doesn't feel like growth. It feels like violence. Like ripping yourself out of your own skin. And no, one talks about that part. They only see the result. They don't see the night you finally had enough. They don't see the moment you stopped explaining yourself. Stopped making excuses. Stopped watering down your pain just to make other people comfortable. You hit a point where staying the same starts to cost more than changing ever will. You reach a silence inside you that's louder than all the noise outside. And in that silence, a switch flips. You realize, I don't owe my past self anything. Not your loyalty, not your habits, not your patterns, not your guilt. The version of you that tolerated the bare minimum, that begged for love, that kept shrinking just to fit into someone else's life. You don't owe them a damn thing. You can bury them right now. And I know. It sounds harsh. How can I just erase a version of myself? But ask yourself, did they care when you were dying inside? Did they show up when you were carrying the weight of everyone else's comfort but your own? You played nice. You played loyal. You played small. And for what? There is a moment, a ruthless moment, where you don't flinch anymore. Where you look your comfort zone in the eye and say, you're not welcome here anymore. Where you walk away from people who never thought you'd leave. Where you cut ties not with hate, but with clarity. Where you choose silence over begging, peace over chaos, power over pity. That one moment, it's not loud. It's not dramatic. There's no applause, just a steady heartbeat. Just you, standing in the middle of your own decision, and everything changes after that. Not because the world shifts, but because you do. Your standard rises, your energy becomes expensive. You stop offering your soul for crumbs. You don't even need to scream anymore, your presence speaks. People start asking, what happened to you? And all you can say is, I made a decision. That's how it starts. That's how it always starts. Not with a plan, not with a list, not with some soft promise to try harder, but with one cold, clean break from the person you no longer want to be. One moment where you don't hesitate, you don't negotiate, you decide. And in that ruthless second, your future begins. Let them laugh. Let them look at you like a joke, like a page they flipped past without reading, thinking there was nothing there. Let them whisper, mock, leave. Let them forget your name. Because this chapter wasn't written for them. This part, this is for you. This is where it's quiet, where no one is cheering, where the lights are off and the room feels too cold to stay in. This is the part where you don't get applause, only pain. It's only doubt. Only that voice in your head asking if maybe they were right about you. But here's the thing. They left because they only loved the version of you that was easy to watch. Not the one struggling in the dark. They didn't see value in the parts of you that weren't polished, loud, or proven. They skipped this chapter because it looked boring, small, forgettable. They had no idea this is the one where everything changes, because the silence you're sitting in, that's not weakness. That's pressure building. That's the moment just before the break or the breakthrough. And every hour you spend alone with your thoughts, fighting for air in your own mind, is another line written in this chapter. This chapter doesn't need validation. It needs your rage, your grief, your determination to bleed through the pages if you have to. Let them call it a waste of time. They have no idea what's being built here, in your loneliness, in your obsession, in your refusal to stop when everyone stopped watching. You don't owe them an explanation. You don't need to show your process, your pain, or your progress. You just need to keep writing, keep going, keep showing up for this version of you that no one cared to look at. Because the day will come, they'll look back and search for where it all changed. They'll try to understand how you became what you became. And they'll turn the pages, confused, realizing they skipped this one, the one where it was hard, the one where you were buried, the one where they gave up on you and you didn't. They'll regret not paying attention, not believing in you, not staying, but by then, it'll be too late because you'll be gone. Somewhere higher, somewhere louder. In this chapter, the one they never read, will be the reason you never had to explain yourself again.